my name is Nolan Crockett, and this is my persuasive speech. So basically, my persuasive speech will be about Christian marriage and their values and standards, and specifically what C.S. Lewis has to say about it. So basically, marriage has been around for hundreds of years, but very recently it has become very Americanized and secularized. People are throwing out marriage altogether and just moving in with each other. They're throwing out their partners and just remarrying over small squabbles, and the divorce rate is higher than ever, up to over 50%. These are not normal things. Christian standards of marriage are beneficial to follow, even if you are not religious, for 3 reasons. It represents complete union, feelings fade but true love lasts forever, and it is overall beneficial, and it makes for a happier marriage. And so the first reason why the Christian standards of marriage are beneficial is because it represents complete union. In America, this culture often leaves others to choose and throw out their partners repeatedly over small things until they find the one. However, marriage is a binding of 2 people, making them one. There will have to be sacrifices because divorce is prohibited in the church. Matthew 2:16 talks about how divorcing your spouse is an act of violence towards them. So, therefore, the church does not accept this at all, except for in very few cases with sexual immorality and adultery and things like that. So, although Christians follow this because it is God's commandments, it ultimately makes for a happier marriage. Although emotionally taxing at times, marriage is a union, not simply a contract. Additionally, another reason why these Christian standards are beneficial is because these initial feelings of being in love fade. However, true love lasts forever. Being in love is an exciting feeling. It kind of feels like being on drugs because it stimulates the certain areas of the brain that certain drugs do. According to BetterHelp, being in love releases dopamine and oxytocin, which is the same kind of thing that drugs such as cocaine do for your brain. So therefore, they are very similar. However, this high of being in love cannot last, just as most other highs can't. So this honeymoon phase eventually ends. However, after this honeymoon phase, instead of realizing that you may be falling out of love and getting a divorce maybe, there comes this peaceful, content, second kind of love that C.S. Lewis writes about. And this love is amazing, and nobody will get to experience this if they live by society's standards of marriage. So basically, these feelings of being in love, these initial feelings usually fade. However, this true love, these promises that you make to one another, last forever. And even non-Christians can see that. Even non-Christians can follow these values. And also, these standards overall just lead to a happier marriage. One standard that is very unpopular in society is not moving in before marriage. Now, the Bible doesn't specifically say you cannot do this, but it does talk against fornication, sex before marriage, and it's in 1 Thessalonians it talks about not giving people the appearance of sin. And moving in with each other is giving the appearance that you are fornicating, that you are having sex before marriage. So therefore, this is prohibited in the church. And a study on crosswalk.com talks about that marriages are usually happier when they do not cohabitate before marriage. So therefore, these standards lead to happier marriages. In conclusion, marriage is something that 2 people have to take into a lot of consideration because it's not simply a fun thing for couples to do. It is literally a binding of 2 people into one entity. And if this marriage is focused on sexual immorality, if they moved in before marriage, if they're focused on just simply feelings instead of true love, then this marriage will not last, then this marriage will not be happy. They need to be focused on Christian values. Even if you're not religious, these Christian values are still so valuable, and this matters to anybody getting married. Anybody, even if you are not a Christian, because you will be all the much. My phone ran out of storage, but what I was trying to say is you will be all the much happier if you do follow these values. Thank you so much. That is my presentation.